What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday, so you know what time it is, Mock Draft Monday. Still really early in the off season, so I've got two bits of notes here. And then we'll get right into the poll, and then, of course, two mock drafts this time. We're going to do a redraft because I know like 95% of you only want redraft things. So we're going to do that. We're going to do from the sixth pick, which is our last one. Of course, then we'll just recycle through all of them. And then we're going to do a rookie draft, which is only 4 rounds, but I know some of you have been asking for that. So we're going to do one of those quickly at the end of the video. But news first. So Colts come out and say they want Taylor and Mack to be like a 1-1 punch. I mean, that's not technically how things work. Someone has to be the 2 unless you're in a perfectly even split. I don't fully buy that. I do still think Taylor's the guy. He's clearly the superior running back. And if they want to win games, which they brought in Rivers to win right now, Taylor's going to be pretty heavily involved. So I'm not too worried about that. But if you were someone who really liked the value of Mack, maybe this is a cause to go out and get him because he will still be involved. Only other thing that I've seen that's important, I guess, is that the Eagles have been looking at Carlos Hyde or maybe some other running back in free agency. That would be really annoying. You know, I love Miles Sanders. A lot of people love Miles Sanders. I love Boston Scott as well late in drafts. And if they bring in Hyde, that's going to be pretty annoying. But also, it's going to change the ADP. So it's not like Miles Sanders will be going as high as he is right now if they bring in Hyde. And I think since he is clearly the best back, maybe we get a discount. But I'm hoping they just keep everything the same because I do not want to change there. The poll last time. So we did quarterback early again. I got Mahomes in the early 4th round, and I actually really liked the team. I don't remember who we took in the first 2 rounds. I believe it may have been Barkley. Was it Barkley and Miles Sanders? I feel like that's how we started. And then we got Kelsey in the 3rd and Mahomes in the 4th. So that's a really nice start to the draft. And so I put out on Twitter, I said what we could have done is we could have taken, instead of Mahomes and Deontay Johnson, we could have taken Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley. 63% of you said you did prefer Mahomes and Deontay Johnson. That is the second time we've done quarterback early versus quarterback late. And both times you took quarterback early, which is interesting because that's usually not the correct decision. But I don't know. I kind of agree with this one. I'm going to do one that's not Deontay Johnson, though, because I keep using him, and I know that everyone who follows me also likes Deontay Johnson because of how much I like him. So maybe that's influencing a little. But definitely interesting to see that usually it's always best to wait for quarterback in the later rounds because you can still get a great one. And Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, they're still great. Yeah, they're still preferring the quarterback early, which is interesting. So we will see what decision we come down to in this one. Remember, 6 position, 12-team league. We're just going to do a normal setup for this one. So no super flex, no extra flex spot. I don't know. Maybe next week. Maybe next week we'll do a super flex league. But also I'm going to do a full dynasty draft as well soon instead of just a rookie draft. But let's set this up. So we're the 6th pick. We see McCaffrey, Zeke, Barkley, Michael Thomas, Kamara go off the board. That is going to happen every time, which is why probably actually not going to like the 6th pick at all because you're forced to choose between this next tier of players who are very similar. You've got Adams, Hill, Hopkins. I would say Adams is pretty clearly ahead of those two, so I guess we could take the best wide receiver on the board. Probably not smart, though. You guys have heard me talk how much you just got to target these running backs early because the success rate on running back late is minimal, and there are just so many wide receivers, so many quarterbacks, tight ends, and go defense and kicker if you play with those, that just target the running backs when you know they're elite. So that's probably what we're going to do here. Unfortunate that the drop-off happens right at our pick, but the next guy is definitely Dalvin Cook. I don't think there is a case for any other running back at this pick. The only 2 that I could see people taking would definitely be Derrick Henry. And then maybe some people would push for Mixon there. But Dalvin Cook is just, you know he's the guy. You know he's going to get a ton of touchdowns. You know his reception is going to be there. And with Derrick Henry, yeah, he's going to have those weeks where he has like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But he is not going to catch really any passes, and so that is going to lower his floor. We know the offensive line is worse in Tennessee. We know that they're probably going to regress as far as like touchdowns per play. But Dalvin Cook is just awesome. So we're gonna be happy that we got him on our team. I want to pull up. I don't need to pull up the team. We'll keep it out as. So Derrick Henry for wide receivers. Adams, Hopkins, Hill, Julio, and Godwin get taken. And for running back, like I said, Henry, then Chubb, Eckler, Mixon, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, and Josh Jacobs goes right before our pick. Although you guys heard me say maybe I need to reevaluate. I still think it's a good pick, but maybe I need to reevaluate the Josh Jacobs, how much I like him, because when I went over why we got David Johnson wrong last year, it was risk, right? The risk profile on him, had I made the risk rankings that I have this year, would have been really high. And I looked and saw, well, who is really high this year? And it's Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs. So I need to consider maybe reevaluating those. So we have our elite running back, but we want more of them. So we could take Drake. We could take Miles Sanders or Clyde. I think it would really come down to Drake or Miles Sanders, though. I don't think you should be taking Clyde at that spot, and definitely no one behind him. Or we go to the tier at wide receiver. We go with Galladay, Mike Evans, probably a drop after that. Maybe this might actually be a nice decision point. So if this is a league that I have a lot of money in, and I just want to be sure about this pick, I'm taking Miles Sanders. I'm securing my second elite running back. I know that there's going to be wide receivers in my next picks. I cannot be sure I'm going to love the running backs in my next picks. And given that Dalvin Cook does have an injury history, I do want to secure another elite running back. So I would take Sanders here, but if I were making a different decision, like if I was going with a different pick, I'd probably take Mike Evans. So let's see if we ever get to another point in the draft later on where there's a decision between running back and wide receiver that we could flip. So remember Mike Evans in the second round. We are going to take Miles Sanders, and we are going to hope that Carlos Hyde does not get signed by the team. Draft board. We see Lamar Jackson is the only quarterback being taken so far, early third round. And then we see Kittle and Kelsey go off the board back-to-back with Kelsey first in the third round. After our pick, we see Carson, Gurley, Clyde, and Kenyon Drake go. And then we see Galladay, Mike Evans, and DJ Moore get taken at the wide receiver position. So our pick comes down to Jonathan Taylor. That's it. Jonathan Taylor at running back. We could take Patrick Mahomes, although it's the third round. I'd prefer to get him in the fourth round. Or we go over to wide receiver. Wow, with those words. We go over to wide receiver, and we've got Allen Robinson. We've got Amari Cooper, Odell, Juju, A.J. Brown. Here's what I would hope. In a dream scenario, I take Jonathan Taylor here, and I get A.J. Brown in the next round. And I think it can happen. So we're going to go for it. We're going to say running back is just locked up. I don't see him. Oh, did we get him? Yes. Haha. Well, I'll look at the draft board first. Whew, we got A.J. Brown. That's nice. That's a nice start. So after us, Mahomes goes. Ertz and Andrews go at tight end. And then, wow, not a single running back got taken. So after we took Taylor, no running backs go. And we see a run at wide receiver. Juju, Thielen, Kupp, Allen Robinson, Odell, Amari, Ridley, Sutton, Parker. Wow. That is a crazy run, and I am surprised that A.J. Brown is still on the board. So, you could, if you were in a league that had 2 flex spots, you could consider going with your 4th running back here because you can start all of them. For me, in a league where we don't have that extra flex spot, I mean, we got really lucky that A.J. Brown is still on the board, so we got to take him. I'm sure most of you saw the video on Friday that went out on bold predictions. I think A.J. Brown can absolutely finish as a top 5 wide receiver this season. I think that he has everything going for him. Played limited snaps last season until the very end of the year where he dominated. They're going to throw the ball more. He's going to be in his second season. He's so good. It's such a good pick taking him. So after that, we see 4 running backs go off the board. Lev Bell, Melvin Gordon, Singletary, and David Montgomery. No tight ends, no quarterbacks, but we see McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Chark, Woods, AJ Green, and Lockett get taken. So we'll pull up our team if we can. How do we... Did they do away with that? There used to be like a dash thing on the side. Where'd it go? Yeah, that's weird. They moved it. It used to be over here. Okay. Well, they're doing work over there. All right. Week 7 is going to be rough for us, but remember, this is about the time where I usually get those comments that say, well, you're going to lose week 7. You don't know that. You don't know what my bench is going to be. You don't know who I'm going to trade for. You don't know who I'm going to pick up on free agency. And let's say I win week 7. I win week 7, then I've got those guys for the rest of the year. So never look at the bye weeks. But our team is Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor, and AJ Brown. I mean, that might be like the perfect start to the draft if we're being honest. I don't see any mistakes there. What can we do here? We can take a running back. I think David Johnson, assuming he stays healthy. Now, he has one of the highest risk grades possible in the model, but assuming he stays healthy, he could see 250 touches this season, and getting a 250 touch running back in the middle of the 5th round is pretty unheard of. We can take James Conner, maybe being overlooked a little bit. I have concerns about his injuries. I have concerns that McFarland is going to take more work than people think. But at the end of the day, he is still the lead back. As far as we know, McFarland might not even be that good. And if he's not, then Connor's got a lot of upside in the 5th round. So those are 2 people I'd be looking at, along with Kareem Hunt, but maybe Hunt would be their next pick. At wide receiver, we could go with T.Y. Hilton, who maybe I don't think I would go with because I really think we also have a Colt, so I'm definitely not going with him. But say I didn't have Jonathan Taylor, we know they want to run the ball a lot with Taylor, with Mack. We know they have a great offensive line, and we know they want to use Pittman a lot on offense as well. We know that Hilton is a little bit up and down with quarterbacks that he will like to throw deep, and Rivers is not one that loves to throw deep, and they don't have a connection yet. So there are risk factors for sure with T.Y. Hilton, and I like some of these other guys just as much as him. So if we were to go wide receiver, it would probably be Metcalf or maybe Landry, and we just like take the points every week. Metcalf or Landry would probably be the best 2 picks, but I think Metcalf would pretty easily be the best one. Or we go with David Johnson. I want to pull up the team again. So, let's say we take... I don't think we need David Johnson. And given that it's very possible he's just dust at this point. Like, he did not look good even before and after the injury last season. He hasn't looked good for a few years. He just looks old. He's not even that old. He doesn't have that many touches in his career, but it doesn't look that great. And so we also know that Watson doesn't really throw to his running back, so that upside's a little tanked. Maybe we take our next guy, but there's our decision point. Let's just write it in right now. So we ended up taking it was Miles Sanders that pick, right? So Miles, you would go Miles Sanders and DK Metcalf. Or would you rather have gone with Mike Evans, and then taken David Johnson? That's going to be the decision point. Excuse me. That's going to be a decision point this time around. I don't want to influence your vote, but to me, there's a pretty clear option there, in my opinion. So, Metcalf. Pull up the draft board when this goes away. I like this team. I'm getting all the players that I really like. So maybe the mid pick isn't that bad, but I would so much prefer 5. Like, if I got 5 and then I ended up getting these players, because like Alvin Kamara is pretty clearly better than Dalvin Cook, I would be super pumped with this team. So Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor at running back, and then A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf at wide receiver. We'll just look at the draft board, see if there's anything. It goes this way. 2 quarterbacks go in the 6th round, Dak Prescott and Sean Watson, and then only Darren Waller goes off the board at tight end. So, if we wanted to take a quarterback early, we could go with Kyler Murray. He's the last tier 1 quarterback available. If we wanted to look at tight end, we'd be waiting. There's no way I would take a tight end at this point in the draft. We would have had to have gotten someone that already came off the board. So Kyler Murray's an option for sure. We can take Landry. He's still on the board, and that would secure 3 wide receivers I really like with the running backs I already liked. However, I'll say again, you got to be grabbing these running backs while you still can. And Kareem Hunt has one of the lowest risk profiles in the model. I just think he's such a good pick that I don't understand why he's available as late as he is. Like, just think about Kareem Hunt. What is the worst case scenario if you draft him? I mean, other than him getting hurt. It's that Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt and Nick Chubb gets what he did last season. Well, if you look at the back half of last season, Kareem Hunt was like a low-end running back too. Like, that's what he was. Like, he was a guy you could just throw into your flex each week. So that's the worst case scenario, is that I just added like a low-end running back 2 kind of flex option as my running back 4. But what's the best case scenario? The best case scenario, not in like the world, but for Kareem Hunt, would be that something happens to Nick Chubb. In which case, you now have a top 5 running back. Like, that's not an exaggeration. You have a top 5 running back. It'd be only him. He'd have, what, like 8 targets a game, all the goal lines. So he'd be scoring on average probably a touchdown a game, plus like 15 to 20 carries, which we already know he can handle that sort of workload and dominate in it. And their offensive line is like super good this year from being, well, it's probably going to be really good. We can't know for sure. But it's probably going to be a lot better after being terrible last season. Like, I don't understand why he's available in the 6th round. That's the kind of pick that should be going easily in the 5th round. And it probably will be by the end of summer. So now that we got him, though, we're looking nice at running back. So we can look back at wide receiver with this pick. I would say we'd absolutely scoop up Kyler Murray if he was still available, but he's no longer available. And we've hit this next tier of quarterback where there are so many options that are the same that we are legitimately just no longer going to look at that position until later. I mean, I don't even care if I got Breeze, Ryan, Brady, Stafford. I couldn't care less which one of those I got. And if I miss out on one of those, I don't care if I get Daniel Jones or if I have to wait till the final round to take Drew Lock or take a shot on Joe Burrow. Because let's say it doesn't work. Let's say Lock isn't as good as we think. Burrow's not as good as we think. Cool. You drop them because every single season there are fantastic options for you to stream. And there's like fantastic options just to pick up and play for the rest of the year. I mean, in my big league, I played Tannehill for like the last half of the season. That was great. Like, I drafted Goff in that league because we had a 300 passing yard bonus. I thought he was going to hit that more. And he actually ended up being fine towards the end of the season. But anyways, there's always options you can pick up. So I'm never worried about taking a shot at quarterback late. And I do think Burrow and Lock are decent options. So we go back to the draft. Wide receiver. We are in the rounds where we take upside. And upside picks here are Marquise Brown and Will Fuller, and I guess Brandon Cooks a little bit. We've got the guys I love. We've got your Slaytons, Anthony Miller, who I don't think is being talked about enough, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, but those are later. So we'd basically be looking at Will Fuller. If we wanted to go running back, we would take Geis. That'd be your upside pick. Perhaps Sony Michel, but it'd probably be Geis, has a lot more upside. Or Dobbins. Dobbins is still on the board. So, All right, so this comes down to, do I want to take Fuller or do I want to take Dobbins? To be completely honest, I think Dobbins has much upside. So I'm going to take Fuller, and I'm going to just hope that Dobbins is available. I know Geis isn't going to be available. Still there. Geis got taken, and Dobbins looks like he's still on the board. Nice. We could handcuff with Mac, but I'm not pumped about doing that. So we'll take Dobbins. Remember, upside. I don't think Dobbins will be going this late, 8th round. I think he'll probably be going 6th. I think he'll be going in the 6th round once this is all said and done in August. Just because he's the exact same way. You know, if something happens to Ingram, you just picked up not a top 5 running back, but easily a running back 1. And he's going to step in immediately to all of Gus Edwards' role. So that's 131 and 132 touches or carries, I think, in the last 2 seasons, something like that. Pretty much immediately going to have 150 touches this season. And when you're in the number 1 run offense, that's pretty nice. What can we highlight? So Breeze, Matt Ryan, Brady come off the board. We see Evan Ingram. We see Rob Gronkowski come off the board. Nothing else really crazy. Anthony Miller does get taken. We could have looked at him with that next pick. So let's look at the team. For running back, Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, and J.K. Dobbins. And then a wide receiver, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, and Will Fuller. We need to take wide receiver with these next 2 picks. Having Will Fuller as a pretty big risk, backing up our only 2 receivers in A.J. Brown and Metcalf. I'm not saying we can't take risk with these, but we definitely need to taking wide receiver, which is fine too, because I mean there are good options here. Don't get me wrong. Like I would love to handcuff Miles Sanders with Boston Scott. I would love to take a shot on maybe Zach Moss, or handcuff Dalvin Cook with Alexander Madison, but we got to take some upside at wide receiver. Slayton for sure. Love Slayton. Love CeeDee Lamb. I believe I have Lamb ranked ahead of Slayton though. I don't know. I still don't know why Lamb is ranked so low. I mean, they have 190 targets up for grabs. You're gonna tell me that there are 190 targets available. This kid's gonna be on the field basically every single play. He's an incredible threat every time you get the ball in his hands. He's easily gonna see 100 targets, and he's available in the 9th round. That doesn't make any sense. And there's gonna be so many touchdowns to go around. So I don't get that. And imagine if like Amari Cooper got hurt. I mean, he's essentially just steps into the Amari Cooper role, and you just got him in the 9th round. Upside, guys. Always looking for this upside. This next pick, I don't know who I have. I think I have Deontay Johnson and Darius Slayton like right next to each other. Possible I have Kirk ahead of them, but I don't know. Yeah, this would be a situation I would just look at my rankings on that one. But we also need to consider, since I don't know, maybe we hold off. We don't take that final, that'd be our final flex spot or bench spot, right? Yeah, we don't take our final bench. And maybe we look at tight end here. Jared Cook, Noah Fant, Goddard, Hawkinson, Jarwin. That's like the bigger tier, but we probably wouldn't take Jarwin since we have CeeDee Lamb. So we could take Jared Cook here. I guess he has less question marks because he was really good down the stretch, but of course he's pretty old. Drew Brees is getting up there, so it's not a pick that doesn't have any risk. I think I would actually take Stafford. I would take Stafford here because I think those tight ends are still going to be on the board. All of them are. Wonderful. But only Deontay Johnson is there for wide receiver. Okay. So that just kind of made our pick for us. Yeah. I'm not concerned too much with which of these tight ends we get, but I do want to lock up Deontay Johnson here because we missed out on Slayton. Oh, a lot of the wide receivers got taken. Dang. Or tight ends. Oh, yeah. We'll take Jared Cook. I like this draft. Yeah, I don't care about the grade. I really like this team. This is probably one of the better teams we've taken so far. Matthew Stafford, Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Jared Cook, Jonathan Taylor. Whoa. Did I? 1, 2, 3. Maybe I just deleted defense. I didn't even notice. Maybe I didn't click defense on the draft board. Well, we usually take defense in the final round. I don't know why it wasn't on this draft. Then Kareem Hunt, Will Fuller, J.K. Dobbins, CeeDee Lamb, and Deontay Johnson with the bench. I mean, I don't want to say it too many times, guys, but I like that team a lot. We already went over what we would do for the decision, so we're going to hop in to the simulator again, start a mock, and we're going to do Dynasty. We're going to randomize it because, I don't know, just because. I don't really have a thing. Only going to do rookies. So we're going to do 4 rounds, only rookies, 12 team, normal roster setup of the one bench, or the one flex. Randomize. We get the 5th pick. Okay. I think that's a decent pick. Obviously, like, you want 1 or 2 in a dynasty startup. Let's go over here. Let's go to draft board. You want 1 or 2 because, I mean, Swift won't be taking it 2. You're going to want to get one of Jonathan Taylor or Clyde. If you have the 101, I would honestly suggest just trading back. Just get something for it, even if it's a late round pick, because I don't even have, like, I would take Clyde if you had to, but I think they're so close that just trade to the 2 and just take whoever's left on the board. We see Clyde, Swift, Taylor, and Judy go. Interesting. I have the top 5 running backs as my 1 through 5. I'm not 100% on, like, the rest of the draft. Like, I have rankings and I've thought through them, but I'm going to screw up some of these picks, I'm sure. But I have, I believe I have Clyde, Taylor, then Swift, then Dobbins, Akers, and I think that is the correct order. Maybe not this season with Dobbins breaking out, but Ingram is getting up there in age. This could be like his last season as the starter, and that means Dobbins has, like, running back 1 potential next season, so a ton of upside with him. But let's see what happens if it clicks. So after me, we see CeeDee Lamb and Akers go off the board. That's basically your top 7 in rookie drafts. I haven't seen too much variation in that. After that, we see Jefferson, Rager, Vaughn, Ruggs, and Higgins. Then in the second round, we see Dillon, Mims, Shenault, Pittman, Joe Burrow, Bryan Edwards, and Antonio Gibson get taken. So, who can we take? We can take Ayuk. We can take Claypool. Boy. Yeah, the wide receivers fall off right after Bryan Edwards, who I believe I have ahead of Pittman and Shenault, actually. But right after this wide receiver gets taken right here, all these guys are pretty clearly in a tier of their own ahead of these next ones. And now I do think that Claypool and Ayuk are good picks, but would I take them ahead of Zach Moss? No. I don't think you could justify that. So I really like the talent on Moss. And if something happened to Singletary, man, Moss is instantly good this season. I think he's being underrated by the community. Probably because of his combine. I don't think he ran that good. But, I mean, with running back being so important, if you're starting off a draft with Dobbins and Moss, like, that's a really good pairing. The issue is wide receiver. Like, and this depends too, right? Like, if your team in this dynasty league is stacked at running back, you needed wide receivers, well, you're taking Ayuk with that pick, right? Like, you have to know that I'm assuming your team is, like, evenly built. You're not in a dire need of one thing or another. And if you're not in a dire need of anything, with this pick, I think you even have to go with McFarland. Because after McFarland, I see a drop-off into all of these running backs. And for wide receiver, I mean, I would probably end up taking Duvernay or Hamler. But I don't think either of them are going to have a very big role this season. And so McFarland definitely has a chance of having a role. So maybe I could draft McFarland. I can trade for, like, Duvernay or Hamler partway through the season if nothing's happening. But, like, I don't see them being that exceptional as far as assets to my team. So I feel like you have to take McFarland there, which is weird. I don't think you usually take this many running backs in a rookie draft. But, like, that's the thing, though. Would I rather start off my draft like the Shermanators here Rager, Pittman, Bowden, and Adam there, who has a lot of upside in New Orleans. No, I would much rather be taking these running backs because that's how you win. Like you win with hitting on one of these running backs. So as much as I love Rager and I love Pittman, I want the number one upside of Dobbins, Moss, and McFarland. Kind of want to take a wide receiver here, though. If you were looking at running back again for some reason, it would be P. Ryan backing up Bell in New York. Don't really see anyone else that I'd be very excited to take. You guys know I don't really like Cephas that much. So you can take Gabriel Davis. He's a pretty good talent, but in Buffalo, you're basically just having to wait for Brown and Diggs to leave. I think the pick here is actually Joe Reed. Let's actually look at tight end. Now, you could go with Keene in New England, but he's a lot better at blocking. I would have wanted the other, I don't even know how to say his name, the other tight end, Asiasi. That's probably the one you want in Dynasty because I think they're going to use him. They can use a lot of two tight end sets, but I think they're going to use him more as a receiver. And Keene's going to be more of a blocker because he's so good at blocking. But Joe Reed's who we'll take here. I like him because he's really good in the return game. So, he's going to be on the roster. Obviously, other guys are going to be on the roster too. But he's going to, be on the field. He's going to get a chance to, show that he's good. And he probably is the third best receiver on that team. So, he could play in 3 wide receiver sets to start the season. So I think people are sleeping on him a little bit. And it's always nice when people are good in the return game. If we take Dobbins, Moss, McFarland, and Reed, it's not the perfect draft. Obviously, you really want one of those top 2 picks. But getting Dobbins at 5 is also really good. So there's 2 mock drafts for you. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button? How about subscribing to the channel if you're new? Thanks for watching.